This is the Iron Sharpens Iron movement, sharing insights into the power of people-centric leading.
Hi, this is Jim, and today we welcome to our tribe two tech entrepreneurs to discuss how their unique approach to business and leadership paved the way to financial success. This success now allows them to invest their time and resources in sustainable and eco-friendly endeavors, including large-scale farming projects to help combat global climate change. Selling their business for over $1 billion, they are the first married couple in the world to reach this level of accomplishment in business, creating a true unicorn in such a short time. This is Isa and Samo Logan. Iron Sharpens Iron movement is brought to you by N2 Growth, a leader in executive search, leadership development, and talent management. We find and develop the world's best leaders. Learn more about our practice by visiting us at n2growth.com or click on the link in the show notes of this podcast. Isa, Samo, welcome to the Iron Sharpens Iron movement. Our tribe of listeners are ecstatic to have people of your stature here, but not only that, two people that are just great human beings, people that are here to make other lives better and to make our planet better. And those are the type of things that we're going to talk about today, is these secret formulas that you have found in your life and in your business life that has made you successful, but at the end of the day, to allow yourselves to stay true to yourselves. So again, welcome to the movement.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. And you are calling in from Cyprus, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. Awesome. Beautiful.
On the other side of the world.
On the other side of the world. Beautiful. But Isa, you and I were talking in the green room that even if you are on the other side of the world, we are affected by global situations just like this COVID pandemic, and you'll be traveling shortly to Slovakia, and just all those things that we've experienced in this last year add to quite a bit of pressures and stress, and you're certainly not immune to that either.
Yeah, sure, but we just discussed today, luckily we were living almost like this for the last 10 years, because we moved to Cyprus 10 years ago, and the majority of our teams were all around the world, and we were not able to travel to all places all the time. So let's say approximately half of our time we spent here on Cyprus working on a long distance with our teams.
Yeah, so working through teleconferences was not really something new to us. We were kind of used to it. So, but it's true, in the last year, it's only that, more or less.
Yeah, it's only video conferences.
Do you think that's led to a little bit of your success too, your ability to have this agility that was, co-created by you and your team early on, before the pandemic, to allow you to kind of have this agility as you're being successful here?
For sure, agility always helps, always. So you have to be agile, especially when you establish a startup. You have to be able to move for 180 degrees in the middle of the day if needed.
I love that. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about some of these techniques that you have learned, some good, hard business lessons you've learned in kind of the world of leadership and how to handle those situations. In the introduction, I told everybody that, you've got a new book that's coming out, and it's very exciting to be a part of your launch globally. And of course, here in the United States, we know that it's going to be quickly rising in the Amazon bestseller list for sure. And we're going to talk about the book without talking about the book, because I think the essence of, and I was privileged to get the book ahead of time and to read it. And it's really about the story of both of you, the story of how successful you were as a couple. But it's not truly a business book, as in you're just going to say, in order to make a lot of money, you need to do these things. It's a book more about how you should kind of handle yourself 24 hours a day more than anything else, don't you think?
Yes, sure, because we don't really support the idea work-life balance, because it means that when you don't work, you live, and when you work, you what?
Die.
Dying. So, it's all together, and also if you are a leader, uh, it's about you yourself on the whole, not just when you are in the leader role position. That's why we wanted to share the whole story, and but there are also many tools that can be immediately used, let's say, in the organizations.
Yeah, we believe it's impossible to split the work and personal life. So you need to be fulfilled and happy in both of them
And in harmony.
and in harmony.
And
Yeah.
in harmony. I could not agree more. I live in central Vermont, and some of the days, a very rural area, and some of my hardest days are solved by just going out into my backyard and a walk in the woods to reconnect with nature. And it's the greatest therapy ever. Is just to reconnect with what's important. And I think a lot of people that are in the grind of business lose that connection with kind of the whole person concept. I want to share with our listeners, and I would love to dive deeper in how you got this. I want to share with you the vision that you have on your website, and I want to read it to our listeners because I think it's so powerful, and I'd love to know a little bit more about it. You both write that you want to create a world where everyone is free to prosper and live with purpose and love, where you act in the interest of nature as well as within yourselves. Talk to me about that vision statement that you came up with, and I'd love to explore the word love when it comes to business.
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's for us it's impossible to split the worlds because there is one reality for a single person. I'm not saying that different person doesn't have a different perspective about the same reality, but for me, when I work, I need to enjoy my life. And for us, for this reason, it was not so difficult to work together because um, who do you know better than your life partner? Who can support you better? And if you look at the future, at the world where um, our relationships would be put forward, so to be the most important, how the creation or co-creation of all of us would be accelerated. And it's about creating great results with everybody um, being inspired and contributing. So that's the world we are creating, the opportunity for everybody to have this attitude towards work and life that we have experienced
With passion.
with passion. Passion is one of the most important things, but
And love. Maybe I can talk about
yeah,
love. Yeah, because James asked, or how to deep deeper into love. I will simplify it like really a lot because otherwise this podcast would take us 3 days, not 30 minutes.
That's okay.
But let's say uh, in a simple way. So when you feel love, you are in your heart, and when you are not in your heart, you are not in love. Let's say simplify it like this. So when you are in your heart, you consider other beings, not just people, but let's say people as people with their issues, with their goals, with their purpose, with their passion, and so on. But when you out of your heart, you consider them as just objects on your way to achieve your goals.
Isa, that's powerful. That's such a concise way to wrap that up because it's when you were saying that, I instantly had in my mind thinking of the love of my life, my wife, and how I do, right? I find myself not concerned so much about me, but like, how is she feeling today? And oh, she didn't have a good night's sleep last night. And how's she performing at work right now? And all of those things, I'm constantly thinking that based off through love, but it is an unselfish release to others. And I always, when I'm doing my executive coaching, I tell a lot of leaders, love's not a bad word. And you can use love in terms of business because you can love your organization. You can love your employees. You can love your clients, your customers, all of those things. But I love how you said, I'm using the word love too much now. I like how you said that it comes from the heart, right? You really do care about others.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and like you said, you actually, if you want to be successful, you have to love your job and your company and your colleagues.
Yeah, and one of the most important things and the center of our trainings for our colleagues always has been also in our previous company and now at all the projects that we run for our foundation. It's how to be in love with everything and everyone that you work together. So without that, the productivity diminishes. If you look at how successful we were at our previous company, at Outfit 7, the results we were achieving, uh, our team was quite small. 200 people might sound a lot, but if we compare ourselves for the same amount of revenue, or even better in terms of profitability, we could compare to companies that were 10 times the size of Outfit 7. So it is important how you work, and small teams can achieve tremendous results.
I love it. And so, as you were really punching way above your weight, if you were doing these things with a small team that had disproportionate effects to achieve that perfect balance, you probably came up with talking about different ways of thinking and leading from a leadership perspective. And I know you touch base on that a lot in the book. Can you share with us some of those observations that you had? Like, how do you create a team of 200 that acts like 2,000? How do you really start to think from, because they don't teach you that in business school, do they? Business school in a way is a little old school. Business schools are black and white, and, these doctrine that they've taught for years and years and classic business principles. How do you break that mold? And how do you achieve those kind of things that you've learned are just slightly different than what the mainstream leadership wants you to learn?
Yeah, as you said, there are no written rules actually, so it's not that easy to teach that. But
Yeah.
I would say that there might be a theory behind that can be useful. So if the company has its purpose, so why do they do what they do? What the company does, what it does, and they really feel it. The, let's say, founders, the management. This is important, and then their role is to connect the corporate why with personal whys, so with personal purpose of people, of employees. And if you're able to do that, then everyone in the team gets, like I usually say, like rocket power. Then this is your life. You feel alive, you feel passion. It happens sometimes, and it happened also when we had those 200 people that one said, but I would rather work in other department. I feel I would be more successful that. And he said, okay, let's try. For 1/3 of your time you can work there, and if you perform well, if it's really your passion and your a desire, you can start working on completely other um, um, area.
Mhm.
And it happened many times.
So, are you saying that the employee on the team, your teammates, even if they may be 2 or 3 levels down below, are just as important as the senior leaders of the organization?
Sure, but not just 2 or 3 levels below, all levels.
Yes,
All levels.
it's not that anybody should be privileged. Higher position brings just higher responsibilities. So if even if you are a receptionist or any job that you do, we saw everybody equal as a human being, and that's the core of a healthy organization.
Yes, and we had people that started really in the bottom, so maybe level from we had like levels from 1 to 7. One started on level 3, but in 6 months he was level 6.
Because you paid attention to what his passions were for?
Yes, and how responsible he
So
was.
responsibility, the main driver,
Not just passion, the
the responsibility. So when you see that somebody is willing and able to take the high responsibilities, it doesn't matter who was in the company first. So that person should um, be credited for that and promoted and to get higher responsibility and higher salary, certainly. So that's always one of the most important things, how somebody got promoted. So show how responsible you want to be.
I love that because I, I get very frustrated in a lot of the organizations that I work with. They focus on hierarchy and tenure, and you almost have to be breathing longer at that location to get the promotion, right? You have to have been here. You have had to, sacrifice longer than the other person before they get up there. But, I like how you say if you align their passions with responsibility and if they accept and excel at those responsibilities, why would you not allow this person to keep moving up? I think many organizations fail to do that. And I think many people believe it's kind of a next in line mentality. Well, this person got hired this year, but that person's been here for 3 years, so they must get promoted first, even though they may not be the most qualified person.
So the other equally important thing for us are values, right next to the why, the corporate why. And the values are defined usually by the top of the management or the founders. So, and if company doesn't actually live their values, if you just create a values, put stickers on your glass door,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Actually it creates distrust. So that's the worst you can do. But if you stick by your values, and if people can connect, it's not necessarily that those are their values exactly, but if they find themselves to be empowered uh, in the circle of those values, they will actually perform a lot better. They will understand does the company stand for, how do we work, how everybody deserves to be treated, and this is another thing where management and or founders shouldn't make any compromises.
Yes, and usually majority of people that we let go at Outfits Town were because of the cultural
Unfit.
unfit, cultural unfit.
Do you how do you feel about that personally and professionally, about that cultural fit when you find someone that is not a fit for you? Or do you try to work with that individual or do you try to get rid of the individual before they become toxic, when they're clearly not a fit for the culture of the organization?
First, the very important part is already the hiring process. So during the hiring process, it's good to put as much effort as possible to find out this cultural fit. But of course, it can still happen that there is cultural unfit, and for sure you cannot say, "Oh, this might be cultural unfit. Goodbye." No, of course you put some effort, try to find, to discuss, try to find the reasons behind. Uh, But then, let's say in a few 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, if it doesn't work, the person should go. It happened. Actually, it's still the rule we have. There are a few crossing lines that if you are over, you should go immediately. So if you steal, and we say if you mistreat people, other people, but it doesn't mean that maybe you just talk not nice from time to time. But it's like really, really unfair relationship, or if you lie.
That's I had that speech. I repeated a couple of times, and then
this is good. This is
then when for some time when we got a lot of new guys and girls into our company, sometimes happened that some of our long-time employees came to me and said, "Well, Samo, I think it's time for a speech again." And I said, "The door is open, always open, and this means in both ways that slavery is over, and we want people to feel happy, to want to work for our company. And if you don't feel aligned with what we do or our values, it's actually you're doing yourself and the company not a great favor to keep working at this company." And it happened that a couple of people left after my speech, but that's actually
a good thing.
good thing. And it's needed. Sometimes managers make a lot of compromises, like, well, I really need this specialist. What will we do without him? But on a long term, it always turns out that it was a bad decision keeping somebody who is an obvious cultural unfit in the company. It's all, on a long run, it's always a bad decision.
It's like a rotten apple.
Yes. And, Samo and Isa, one of the reasons that I bring this up, and thank you for being so honest about how it's not, even though you strive to live in a very perfect world, it is an imperfect world. And you strive to make things as good and holistic as possible. There's always the rotten apple, the bad apples. And it's refreshing to see that you can have such high standards and goals and be truistic to the fact of some people still aren't a fit for certain cultures. And that's refreshing to see, because some of the things that I always hear from executives that I coach is that unless it's a very black and white, business oriented book, when you get into books that are kind of like 7 Unicorn Drive, when you talk about kind of like a holistic approach to things, to life, and how you incorporate those, they're like, well, that doesn't work in the real business world. That's just theory. That is not the truth at all, correct? This book and the way that your mindsets aren't theory. These are things that you have lived by your whole lives.
Yes, we heard that also many times. Or even there is also another excuse that it's possible to do if you do it from the start. So from when you start up your startup. But I don't believe it, because we also have some, we can say, already friends that we helped them with the transition and they were successful. So it is possible.
Let's stay on the different way of thinking and leading a little bit. And you've come up with a pretty clever leadership kind of mindset called a flashlight model. Can you talk a little bit about what a flashlight model is and how you came up with it and kind of the concept of it?
Yeah, it's actually a simplified way of showing how things influence each other in the company. So so we took a flashlight as a symbol, and the flashlight has the battery, and the battery is purpose, represents and purpose and values of the organization, and this is actually the source of power. Why the organization can be, what inspires it. And then we have um, a light bulb, and that's a leader. And it's not only a leader of organization, it can be a leader of every single team, because we can use this flashlight model for any size of team, the whole organization, all down to the smallest team possible. So the leader actually projects the why to his team, and the team is represented by lens. So it's actually the team that focuses the beam of light. So to have a really long and focused light, so that you can shine to goals that are way in front of you, you need to have a great lens, a great leader, and a good battery. And the housing of the flashlight represents processes that keep everything in place. Actually, it is a simple model. Somebody could say it's oversimplified, but if we look at it in practice, it always works this way. And there are different ways how managers and teams will actually glue together, but it is manager's role, a leader's role, to inspire them, not to motivate them. And they should be inspired by the power that comes from the battery to create a really focused and long beam.
And the beam represents success.
Beam represents success, yes.
That's genius. I think there is genius in simplicity. And I, as you were describing it, I was thinking to myself, I need to go out and buy a flashlight and put it on my desk and just leave it as a simple reminder of the lesson that you teach on that, because you're correct, right? You can break that apart and get into very technical different ways of doing it and all that stuff, but the way that symbolizes that whole process, pretty genius.
Yeah, James, I have it on my desk.
Do you? You beat me to it. Okay. I love it. I love it. So let's dive a little deeper into probably what some would consider another kind of controversial statement. I teed you up early about, can you say love in a business context? What does that mean? And Isa, you schooled us all about how absolutely to follow the heart is the right way to do. But here's the next word that I think many people will stay away from and not understand what you're trying to define it as. And this is what I think is a great opportunity to help us dive a little deeper into it. And it's spirituality. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to us how you view the term spirituality and kind of what it means to you in that holistic sense again?
Actually, I will simplify it again. Spirituality is life again, life itself, whole life. And there is nothing so special. Okay, there are some techniques or some tools that maybe some people are not used to use, but they can, or they don't need to, because it's part of life on the earth where we live. So let's say we use the word manifestation a lot. So let's manifest that, let's manifest that. And it's a powerful technique when you can manifest your goals. But bottom line, the basic principle of manifestation is just to set the clear objectives.
And be passionate about working on them, because nothing will get done by itself. And people think that there are miracles when you manifest. It's actually setting your goals, clear goals, focus on them, and so that you can have that in front of your face all the time and not lose track. It's not the path, it's the goal.
And And it's not on the management, just on the higher management to set the objectives and the goals, but they have to do it together. So if I'm like a salesman in the company, I should tell how much I think I can achieve. And then as a manager, collect all the sales plans from my people and say, this is our objectives. So because I said I would do that, it's my responsibility to achieve those goals. Of course, if they're too small, somebody can discuss it with me and say, oh, maybe this is not really enough and so on. But if I believe in the product or services or whatever, do, I know I can do a lot. And if I'm inspired, as Samo mentioned before, my objective will be high for sure. Because I'm empowered to set it, I'm also empowered to achieve it. And this is you can see now this is not spirituality.
Yep.
It's like business. Though, let's say, when we had a launch of an app that day, that it was usually Friday, we went outside. Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, but but we went to the high cliff, we meditate, and we visualized the result. And usually those were not money results, but let's say how people, our users, would be happy with the app, how would they learn, how would they be put in joy, how would they feel joy, be happy, be in fun in a few minutes, and so on. Because if your users are satisfied with your services or your product, the revenue follows.
Yes, it's one of the most important things, and it's the revenue that Isa mentioned. And I would like to jump in here because many companies focus on the revenue, and it's one of the most important topics of their management meetings. So at our company, on 2-day management meetings, we've spent like half an hour to 1 hour on discussing the numbers. I mean, the revenue numbers, those that have the dollar sign in front of them. And but the management day was 2 full days, like 20 hours of work. And the majority of our time we spend discussing relationships, also our relationships or products, or how to overcome different obstacles, which more or less always boil down to relationships.
Yep.
So that's one of the most important things, because if you figure out how to overcome those, people, your employees, your colleagues will take care of solving the issues.
But back to spirituality.
Okay.
Samo, I will come back on that because there's a couple more things I want to talk about for sure.
Then just ask James. I'm fine.
I say we still go with spirituality a little bit. I think you refer to this, and check me on this, but Isa, you refer in the book, you call this conscious creation. Is that correct? Conscious creation, right?
Yes, I always like to call manifestation conscious creation, or even better, conscious co-creation. Because if it's just manifestation, the word and the techniques of manifestation are very much abused for like very egoistic needs. So let's say I manifest a new house, I manifest a new car, I manifest I don't know, a gold ring, and so on. And this is nothing wrong with it. But I think that humanity and, let's say, people should focus also to co-create the better future.
Yes.
And that's why I rather use word co-creation than manifestation, though the process or the technique is more or less the same.
But words matter.
Yes.
And I love the difference in the words for sure. And it's interesting, I think, too, you have both said several times you've stopped each other when you've been talking, and you've said, and passion also, and passion too. So have you found it to be true that many people, and Samo, I think you said this a little bit earlier too, some people will say, I want to manifest myself as a millionaire. And of course it doesn't happen, right? It's not magic. It's not genie in a bottle. You have to find that whatever you wish to co-create, whatever you wish to say, this is my objective and I really want to get there, you do have to have that passion to get there. You've got to find the right thing. I guess my question to you, Isa, is like, if there is no passion within you to get to that certain objective, do you find that is telling, that is something that says, well, maybe that objective isn't something that you should be going after because you can't find the passion in your heart to go after it?
Yeah, if there is no passion, the manifestation doesn't work.
Yeah.
So this is simple. And money is different story. You cannot manifest money because money is just the storage for energy. So intermediate storage, and
you need to tell why. Why is it a storage? Because you've created something like a product or service. Somebody paid you for that service, and this enables you that you can actually buy something, a service or a product from somebody else. So it's actually only a storage of the energy you've invested that you can give it forward to somebody else who creates something, a product or a service for you. It's a storage. So you're never passionate about the storage. You're passionate about the product or whatever you're going to receive in exchange. Like you are working your ass off. Sorry.
Yeah.
and selling your products, and you're actually not so keen about the number. It's only a number, the money that you will you are planning to get. Your passion is about, I don't know, vacation, a new house, something that you really wish. It's something where your heart jumps when you think about it.
And this is passion.
This is passion. So it's not about the money. You're I don't know. Is it $1,000 or $1 million? It's actually a few more zeros. It's the same.
I always say, if you need $1 million, I can print them for you. It's the same. It's just about the paper,
I will tell you, there's some. We've laughed amongst ourselves about this. This is not any close to a religious show or anything like that. But you were doing some preaching right there, because I will tell you that hearing that as energy was awesome, because it allows me to even view money in a different term now, in a different way, because it's exactly right. I transported myself in saying, okay, I have to work overtime to get more money, but the reason I'm working overtime or I'm doing a side hustle or gig, those kind of things, is because I want to take that energy and apply it to travel. Because for me and my wife, that's our passion. Our passion is travel. It is experiencing the world and cultures and all of those things. And I could care less what's in my bank at the end of the day, but I love that it propels me to go to some new place to experience something new. That's the energy.
Yeah, and this is
the passion.
The passion, yes, and this is important. And when you really understand that, it's easy to manifest.
Yeah. Well, you've got a believer here. I am consciously thinking of those things for sure. So Mo, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to what Isa cut us off on a little bit with your management meeting, because I want to get back to how you said you concentrate for a short amount of time on the numbers with the dollar signs in front of them, and the majority of the time as a leader and within your team is talking about that human dynamic. A few years ago, I traveled the globe and met with leaders, and I was doing it, as a part of my podcasting and stuff. And the question was, what's the greatest thing that you need in the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, right? I was trying to be very academic in like, what do you need in the new world and all of that. We've got artificial intelligence and big data and all of that. And almost to a person, and I traveled globally, almost to a person, no matter what the culture, they almost all said human-centric leading is the most important thing moving forward. And that's basically, I'm not, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Samo, is that what you were getting at when you were like, hey, we have high-powered executive meetings and we hardly ever talk about the numbers, we mostly talk about the people?
So certainly that's a key to a success, and I don't think that a lot of modern organizations already understand this part, because if you only treat others as objects, somebody who is needed for your success, not as human beings with their own needs and aspirations, it will be difficult, because what you will get in return is actually the same. They will
9 to 5.
Hmm?
9 to
Yeah,
5.
9 to 5. Yeah.
Coming to the office.
Yeah, 9 to 5, and actually not taking full responsibility and accountability for what they do, because they will not feel aligned with the values of the company for start, if the company treats them like that.
And empowered and inspired.
Yes.
So, and there is no question then.
So that if there's no passion, you cannot accept that co-creation will happen, so that they will be willing to contribute as much as they are capable of. And it's actually really bad for people to stay in such environment, because they're not even for themselves. It's bad, because if you find yourself in such environment, you are not making the best possible out of your time on earth. So how do you grow as a person if you are, then you can talk about work-life balance. Then your work is actually a place where you're dying.
And I will tell you, I wrote something down that I am going to use time and time again that you said as a part of your speech, is that open door policy works two ways. And it's very rare that you have a leader say, they always say, I have an open door policy, meaning like you can come and speak to me anytime. But I love how you said how it works both ways. And don't be afraid that door is always open for you to leave if you are not happy, if this is not your passion and all of that. I think it's a huge cultural shift in how you would put the onus of responsibility on all of us and say, we want you to be here. Here's our values. This is what you've got to find the passion. But if it's not yours, that's fine. It's non-judgmental, but the door is there to go find your passion. I love that. I love it. I think too many people don't think in those terms. So I'm going to switch the conversation here as we're starting to come towards the end of the podcast. And I really want to spend a little bit of time on something that is just as important. I believe in the power of threes. I think you have three powerful statements that we talked about at the beginning that I took out of your book about, the first one was, different ways of thinking and leading. That second one, as Isa walked us through spirituality and what that really means. This last one, this third part, is just obviously as if important, if not the most important part. And that's your responsibility to yourself and to others, and kind of that giving back, and that belief in doing others will be more empowering for the whole. Could you talk to me about how you see the world and where you have started to give back?
Well, I will try to make it as short as possible. Outfit 7 that whole story started because when I sold my shares in my previous company, I figured out that only a couple of millions will not be enough. We are from Eastern Europe, Slovenia, not Slovakia. I can correct you here.
Oh gosh, did I say you were going to Slovakia?
It's impossible. I don't know why the countries are named so similarly. So being from Eastern Europe, it's easier just to earn the money you need compared to raising funds. It's even difficult in the US. So we set a plan how to earn, and I figured out for the better future of humankind, there are a lot of big issues to be solved. So that's where the story of Outfit 7 begins. We decided, and Isa joined. I'm happy, really happy that Isa decided to join me. She said she had her dream job, work, her own business at that time. And we decided to build a company to earn 100 million euros after taxes, so in profit, in 7 years. So it actually happened to the day that it was not 100 million, it was $1 billion sale of a company. And now we can really work on what was the original plan on non-profit environmental projects. Our main focus is around food, because if you, as you mentioned, the world we want to live in, it covers the first 2 points, and what the book is all about is actually the third one. So our intention is to cover everything in time. I'm saying in time because everything is uh, perishable. So we
True.
our time is limited, and time for humanity is also limited. But we are facing some great challenges these days, and we have some, like, many people are not aware that we have like 10-15 years to resolve all the biggest problems that contribute to the climate change. We don't have infinite amount of time.
And why did you choose food as your priority?
Because simply food has a huge impact on humanity. It not only that more than half of all usable land is used for food production, so it impacts the climate and the ecosystems the most of everything or of anything that we do on this planet. It's also something that indirectly influences how we think. So when we change our food, we become healthier.
In this area is underdeveloped.
And yes, and most probably why it became our first focus is we figured out in the years while creating Outfit 7 that this is of all the important areas that need to be covered or reinvented, I can say. Energetics gets a lot of attention, transport, but
Yep.
food is something that is really under invested, and there's a lot of development that still needs to be done here. So that's why it was our first focus. It's not that it's the only important thing.
Sure. It is interesting though. We just had the Super Bowl here in the United States, and they're known for their commercials and all of that. And there were several commercials about electric vehicles and autonomously driven vehicles, and a lot of energy kind of commercials on there. But you were right. There's not a lot on and focus on food production, the different types of food, how we handle it, all agriculture, all of that is not on the radar really as mainstream when thinking about how do we start to affect global climate change, and all of that is definitely kind of more in the energy sector. So I applaud you for not only living your own personal life values, but being able to frame it in a way to say that this is something that everybody has within themselves. It's a matter of really being aware of it and doing it. So let's stay on the last point for just a second. Do you believe, or what are your beliefs on, if I'm a listener and I'm in some place in the world and I'm just like, well, I don't have millions of dollars, I don't have that. How can I be a part of doing something for other people. I'm still worried about just putting food on my own plate. What are your responses to just the average person that's out there, and do you believe they can make change too?
I think that every person can contribute. Some people may not contribute like on a big scale, but at the bottom of everything, everyone will have to contribute sooner or later.
So it's like I say, it's similar to democracy. It's like who you vote for. So which products do you buy? How do you decide to live? What do you decide to support? So every individual counts. So if you're buying something from a corporation where you disagree with their values, you are actually putting your vote in the wrong place. So that's how it works. And so it is in the hands, the power is in the hands of every individual.
Well, I hope that as we all go out and buy 7 Unicorn Drive, that we co-create this better world for all of us, because it is within all of us to do that. And, Isa, Samo, I can't thank you enough for the time that you spent with us today, because this is probably the most powerful podcast I've ever had, because it's so introspective. The onus of responsibility is on each individual that listens to this podcast about how you can be a part of solutions at your, having a better life, really understanding love, how you really look at the world from a spiritual point of view, and having that responsibility to yourself and to others. All of this is displayed in your story of success, but it could be everybody's story. Each person on this planet could write their own 7 Unicorn Drive at some point in their life if they just take the time to take that step back and kind of embrace all of these principles. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I'd love for you both to kind of leave our listeners with one last thought or reflection, if you'd like
to. I usually say, when it's only one sentence, live, laugh, or at least have some fun.
And be happy.
And be happy, or at least have some. Yeah, and be live, laugh, and be happy, or at least have some fun.
I love it. And Samo, you agree with that?
Yeah.
You better, right? Well,
certainly one of the most important things is how to co-create with your own partner. And it's unbelievable when I hear from people who say, "Oh, I need to get to work." That's so. The worst part of this Corona crisis is I have to be with my wife the whole day. But for us, actually, we took it to another level. We wanted to work and to do everything together, because that's where you're missing the most of potential if you're not taking the co-creating with your own partner. That's the best opportunity you'll get in your life.
I love it. I love it. And I could not agree with you more. I'm looking around my office right now, and it's split in half between me and my partner. And when she's here in the office, it is one whole thing, and the energy is just through the roof. And I couldn't agree more. Thank you both for spending this hour with us. This has been an amazing time. I am so full of energy. You can't believe it. It is motivating to listen to your story, but more importantly, to feel your passion about life and being able to spread it to everyone around the world. So thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being on the Iron Sharpens Iron podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
For the invitation and for a nice conversation. It was also fun.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining our leadership movement this week. Listening to Isa and Samo talk about leadership, love, passion, spirituality, and serving others was inspiring and motivating, to say the least. Their book, 7 Unicorn Drive, will be a smash hit around the world. I just know it. And I encourage all of us to make it a must-read for this year. Don't forget, our show notes are posted on the website with key leader takeaways. And be sure to subscribe and tell a friend so we can continue to grow our tribe. Until next time, Remember that iron sharpens iron. Make yourself and others around you better every single day.